Go to the AIA Super Freshman. So we are on lesson 10 and we're moving through our story and we are at the point of the 13 colonies. Now, a lot of people, even adults, think they were all the same. Not exactly the case. Now, they did have some things in common, but there were three distinct groups and they had some differences based upon where they were. The northern part, the central part, and the southern part. Okay, so here are the 13 colonies, and here are the three different regions. So in purple here, we called this group the New England colonies, and we called this group here the Middle colonies. The reason they called it the Middle colonies, it's in the middle. Pretty impressive, eh? And then at the bottom, the southern colonies, they called them the southern colonies. I'm not going to make that stupid dad joke twice, but you can see there were three distinct groups: New England, Middle, and Southern. Okay, and you can see the names of them: Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, the first state, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Okay, and the rest you can see where we have Quebec, which was French, and we have the American Indians here. Okay, so this is the state of affairs in 1775. So from 1630 to 1750, they developed very distinct lifestyles and culture. Now, if you think of it today, if you go to the Northeast, it looks different. The food is different. The accent's different. Wicked awesome, park the cod, Harvard Yard. They got that real heavy, New England accent. And then you go to the middle group, and it's somewhere in between. They don't really have a distinct accent one way or the other. Then you go to the South and you get that Southern drawl, y'all, and different types of food. So even in modern times, they have different cultures, different geography, and that really stems from the past. Okay, so this is a long history of differences. Okay, so if you were wondering why it took a while to unify, going back 1630 to 1750, that's a long time. So it was because these differences were right there at the beginning of colonizations. These colonies had a difference of goals, they had a difference in geography, economy, how they made their money, the type of food they ate, the type of food they grew. It took a while. And on a very simple level, the North was industrial, whereas the South was more agricultural, and the middle had a mixed bag. Okay, let's talk about the South first, and we'll work our way north here. So the southern colonies had this plantation culture, agriculture, cash crops. Now, slavery was a big part of their economies because it was cash crops. And bear in mind, the slavery issue didn't end really until the end of the Civil War. So there was a long-standing issue in America. And it wasn't even 1865. You had to wait for the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, the Civil War amendments to officially put it to rest. Much more isolated. It was rural. And they were Anglican. They had a different religion. So that was the southern colonies, what was going on with them. And then if I go to the New England colonies to the far north, they had subsistence farming, shipping, because they're along the water, boats, and they developed large ports. But bear in mind, ports are big money. Boats are coming in and out. There's middlemen exchanging money. So compared to the southern economy, there's a lot more money flowing in the New England colonies. It was community oriented. Early settlers were called Congregationalists, different than the Southern religion. Towns centered around the church or a common park, and it looks like Thanksgiving dinner here, right? And it was very, very different. They thought different, different religion, different focus, different way of making money. And then if I go to the middle colonies, they had the richest farmland. They made a lot of money growing food. Now, they did have slavery, but it was on a smaller scale to the north. In the middle, it's what you'd expect. It has some aspects of the north, some aspects of the south. The closer you got to the south, it had more southern flavor. The more you got closer to the northern border, the more northern flavor. So the middle colonies were a bit of a mixed bag. However, there were some similarities. Now, bear in mind, eventually they did unify against the British in the Revolutionary War, and we become America. By the way, each star represents one of the 13 colonies. Now we have 50. Back in the day, they had 13. Now, a distinct American culture started to be created. but it was kind of a slow process. It was an organic process. Didn't happen overnight, but slowly and gradually this kind of American flavor started to kick in. Large families was a commonality. This notion of being a jack of all trade ethos. Because you were out as a colonist, you had to be flexible. You had to do a lot of different things. And even these small towns, somebody could be the mayor, the undertaker, and the plumber. I mean, I'm just making stuff up here. But people wore a lot of different hats if you get that. And that's a very American thing. Independence, I can do it myself. I can handle things myself. Very American idea. And there's this idea called Yankee ingenuity. If you're wondering why the baseball team, the New York Yankees, are called that, it's based on that. Please don't tell me if you're a Yankee fan. Just keep that to yourself. I want to, think highly of you. And if you say you're a Tigers fan, I will think highly of you. So this Yankee ingenuity is this American ability to solve problems in new and unique ways. And they call this, I got a problem to solve. I'm going to come up with a solution to fix it on my own. And they call that Yankee ingenuity. That was part of the American culture. Now, challenges of colonization made Americans willing to try new ideas. It was challenging to be a colonist, and they were open to try different things to make stuff work. Women had more opportunity than their European counterparts because, again, you're a colonist, you needed everybody to help out. And, if you exclude women, you're really, shooting yourself in the foot. And this independent spirit, Americans pride themselves on being very independent. I have my own land, I can vote for myself. There weren't a lot of people, so if you did have a job that was in demand, you made a lot of money. You made a lot of money, land ownership. However, bear in mind where that land came from initially. Friendly reminder that used to belong to the American Indians, but that wasn't a concern to the colonists so much. Okay, so think of the context of the time. Social change was brought about in a more democratic way than Europe. So Europe was more, the wealthy and the aristocrats and, those sort of people had more power. In the colonies, it was a lot more equal, it was more democratic than Europe. And people believed in self government. This was seen by the early charters and practices of the colonists. So early on, here's an example of them signing one of those charters. They wanted to rule themselves. Americans as a culture don't like being told what to do, they like to do their own thing. Okay? And the final question we asked in class: in what ways were the American colonies different, and in which ways were they, similar? Okay, change that to similar. What do you feel would need to take place to get all 13 colonies unified? Okay, it's foreshadowing for a future part. So after I stop this video, I'm going to change this word and you get the point. Okay, you might think of a Venn diagram, you might think of a chart. Okay, so that's a breakdown of what happened in class, and I hope everybody is doing well and take good care of yourselves.